All right, here we are. Hi, Dr. Katie. How are you today?
Hi, Naya. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I am so excited to have you here today. It's our third webinar with you, and each time we bring you on, our audience is just so excited to learn more about how to use essential oils with their pets. It's probably our number one asked question. So, thank you again for joining us. I'm really excited.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I'm so excited for all the pet parents that'll join us live and help their pets learn a little bit more how to use essential oils safely.
Yes, it's going to be great. So let me give everyone a couple minutes to join us. And just so everyone knows, today we are talking about how to safely and effectively diffuse essential oils around your pets. And that's, I would say, probably the number one question we get when we're talking about pets and essential oils. Do you feel like you get that question a lot in your practice?
Yeah, and what's really nice about diffusing essential oils is it's super easy. It can be
Mhm.
really safe, and it's a really great way and easy way to introduce your pets and yourself to essential oils if you're not already using them. So I'm really excited about it because there's so many different ways we can use essential oils, whether it's just to optimize health, whether it's to treat allergies, whether it's to help anxiety, because who doesn't have a little bit of anxiety right now? And so
Mhm.
there's so many neat ways, but diffusing is just one of them there. It doesn't cost that much and it's just really easy to do. So it's going to be a great topic for us to discuss tonight.
It is the easiest way for humans and pets alike to really receive the benefits of aromatherapy. So I know that we put together a presentation to share with you guys, or when I say we, I mean Dr. Katie, and we're excited to have her share it with us. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer at the end of our webinar, please drop them in the comments so we can get to them during our Q&A. So why don't we go ahead and get started?
Yeah, and I would love for people joining us live, drop in the comments where you're joining us from. And if you've used essential oils with your pets before, I'd love to hear that so we can come back to that at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and presentation with everyone. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm not seeing the presentation
Take your
show
time.
up. I'm going to redo that. So bear with us.
We're
Technology
listening.
is always fun.
Yes, it is. There's always technical problems. It's not a Zoom webinar without it. Hopefully,
Hmm.
our technical support, Stephanie, maybe not. Maybe we won't be able to have the presentation. Hold on. Stephanie, our technical support is saying give her just a minute. She has to do something. Let's
Okay.
see.
All right. So who's ever joining live, tell me where you're joining from and what your favorite essential oils are, and if you used them before while you're waiting for us to deal with technical difficulties.
Yes, so it looks like we have Angie from Atlanta, Georgia, which is not too far from where I'm at. I'm in Florida. Where are you at, Katie, right now?
Fort Collins, Colorado. So
Yes, beautiful. And it looks like we've got Caitlin from Ontario. We've got Severalton, Oregon. Hi. Oh, we've got, oh, I love this. Her pet Ginger is 12 years old and she's been diffusing essential oils around her since she was born. I love it. We have Elaine from Melbourne, Florida. All right. Well, great. Oh, and Monica from Lake Worth, Texas. We have people from all over the country. I'm so excited to be talking with you guys today.
this is great. Thanks for showing up and taking time out of your busy evening to learn more. And I promise you it will be worth it once we figure this out. So
All right. Well, it looks like we are not seeing your screen, so I think we might just have to move forward without it, Katie, unless you wanted to give it one more try.
yeah, okay, let's see. Hmm. Let me try.
I
mm,
promise we tested this during our test
Oh,
run.
here we go. Here we go, everyone. We're there.
Yay! Okay.
We're there.
Thank
We
you.
made it. So let's,
Perfect.
okay, so I've got this up. Does everyone just comment? I know Naya can see your comments. Can everyone see the presentation in their screen? Just put a thumbs up, a yes in the comments. Let me know that you can see this, and then we can get going and share some exciting essential oil information.
All right. I think, yep, they've got it. All right. Let's go ahead
Awesome.
and get
All right.
started.
Great. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. And I'm really excited to bring this presentation to you. I'm going to be talking about how to diffuse essential oils safely and effectively around your pets. I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, the natural pet doctor, and I've been using essential oils for a really long time with my own pets and with my own patients. So I'm going to give you some really neat tips that you can start implementing from day one. And maybe you're here because you're wanting to use oils for your pets, or maybe you're just wondering if those oils are going to harm your cats and you're just kind of worried about using them. You see all different sorts of things online and you're just not sure where to start. And you may be noticing that there's numerous reports of cats being harmed when oils are diffused or applied topically to cats. And this is a picture of one of my beautiful rescue cats, Taz. And he was a very special kitty who actually received the benefits of essential oils topically to help his kidney health and his overall immune system. And then maybe you're here because you personally have a senior pet who's aging and you're hoping to use essential oils to help their overall immune health, reduce inflammation naturally to avoid those nasty side effects that can happen with long-term usage of pain medications. And this guy here is my special soul pup. This is Finn. And he was this lucky boy that was able to avoid 2 knee surgeries because of essential oils, herbs, and acupuncture. So not only were we able to experience less inflammation, but we were also able to help him when he actually developed a brain tumor and started having seizures. We used essential oils through all of it. So yes, you can still safely use essential oils, and we're going to talk about ones to avoid if your pet's prone to seizures, but they're a great resource to add into your pets, your dogs, and your cats' lives. And maybe you're here because you feel out of control or your pets are going crazy and everyone's stressed to the max. If you feel like that, put a comment in the comment box because anxiety is at an all-time high right now in people and pets. And there's numerous ways that we can really help and use essential oils to restore that calmness and peace in the household. So whatever reason you're here for, there's a way that essential oils can fit in to help. So let's get going to help you use these incredible plant compounds safely and effectively in your pets. Some of the topics we're going to cover are what are essential oils, those differences between dogs and cats, how to diffuse essential oils safely around your pets, and common conditions that we can use essential oils for. And of course, we're going to cover some questions at the end. So as your questions pop up, drop them in the comment box, and I promise we'll get to them at the end. So what are essential oils? These are the aromatic, volatile liquids that are distilled from shrubs, flowers, trees, roots, bushes, and seeds. So the chemistry of essential oils is very complex. Each one may consist of hundreds of different and unique chemical compounds. But remember, less is more with these incredible plant compounds. Essential oils are highly concentrated and far more potent than dried herbs. And the distillation process is what makes essential oils so concentrated. It often requires an entire plant or more to produce a single drop of distilled essential oil. And we'll also talk a little bit more at the end before the questions about what to look for when you're shopping around for essential oils. So there's so many reasons for using essential oils in our pets. And it's a great way to bring nature into your pet's life to support their emotional well-being while treating a disease or preventing and optimizing overall health. So essential oils cover so many different parts. They smell great. They're easy to use when you're using them appropriately. The different chemical constituents in the plant work synergistically together to achieve broad spectrum results. So when we look at conventional medicine, we need to know if there's a bacterial infection for an antibiotic, or if we're treating inflammation, so we can use an anti-inflammatory. But many of the oils we choose for pets have antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, antiviral properties, and these are what we can also use to help them feel emotionally too. So we're actually treating the whole pet, which gives us a lot better results than using a conventional drug. Now, what are some of the differences between dogs and cats? They're not the same. So cats and essential oils, this is one of the scariest topics, right? And you may be terrified of using essential oils in your cats. Now, cats, of course, here's an obvious one. They're a smaller size. They don't need as much. But the thing also a lot of pet parents don't realize is that they have finer hair. They have more hair follicles than dogs per surface area volume, that hair actually can absorb those essential oils. So you don't have to part the fur and then apply it to the skin. That hair is going to absorb it and bring it into the body. Cats also lack certain detoxification enzymes and pathways compared to dogs. And this is why it can make them more sensitive to essential oils, other medications, a lot of other things in general compared to a dog. So, why do we see so many cases of toxicity in cats? This, of course, is dose dependent. As I mentioned at the start, less is more. You don't want to use more and more of an essential oil, especially with a cat. That's where we can see these toxicity issues. Or we're using them inappropriately, where we're using hot essential oil topically on the skin and we're causing irritation and redness. Or one of the most common reasons why we hear about why essential oils are bad, or you hear about essential oils killing cats, is because we're using adulterated or synthetic essential oils that aren't pure, that aren't being tested, that we're going to talk a little bit more once the presentation is over. So, how do you keep cats safe with essential oils? I've broken it down, and this is a great guideline to follow just to keep yourself safe. When you're working with aromatherapist or an integrative veterinarian that uses aromatherapy in their patients, sometimes we will use these things topically, and sometimes we'll use them internally. But you want to make sure you're working with someone that knows how to safely use them and what dosages to use. So the oils that you want to avoid topically and internally with cats are going to be your oils that are high in methyl salicylate. So these are birch and wintergreen, or they have a high phenol content. So oregano, thyme, savory, cinnamon, clove, melaleuca. So that's your tea tree. Keep in mind, a lot of these where we see toxicity or side effects, or we read about an essential oil causing a seizure, we'd have to question, was that an adulterated essential oil, or was it pure and actually used appropriately? So some of the other ones to avoid topically and internally are things in the mint class. So peppermint, spearmint, oils high in limonene. So those are your citrus oils. And then I put, what about lavender? Because lavender is one of the most commonly used essential oils out there, but it's also one of the most commonly adulterated essential oils. So if you're buying lavender essential oil off the internet, or you're walking into your normal like grocery store and you see those essential oils sitting there, you don't necessarily want to buy those. You need to do some research because it could be adulterated and it could cause a lot of health issues for your cats. So some other tips to keep your cat safe when you're using essential oils. Remember, less is more. I always say dilute, dilute, dilute. What that means is we're using potentially like one drop in our water diffuser to diffuse in an open room. We'll talk more about that. Or if you are using these topically, make sure you know what you're doing or you're working with someone. This is where you're using a drop per 10 mils of carrier oil to keep your cat safe. And so this is where that 0.25% to 1% dilution, and I have a chart for you. So if you don't have your phone with you, grab your phone to take a picture of what's coming up. There's your warning. You can also use these in the litter tray box. Call them like litter aroma. And you want to make sure if you're doing that, you're not using too much. Remember, our pets have stronger sense of smell. You also want to make sure you have a litter box without oils in it too, if you're going to go that path, in case your cat's like, nope, not using this. You don't want them having inappropriate urination outside the litter box somewhere else on the carpet. You also want to make sure that you're not using those oils on or near the eyes, ears, the nose, the genitals, so mucous membranes. I've accidentally gotten lavender on my eye mucous membranes. Ouch, it can hurt. So think about that with your pets too. We need to be careful with not touching them if we're using it on our hands. Just be a little bit careful that you're not rubbing their eyes after using essential oils yourself. Using a water diffuser, as we mentioned at the start, is one of the safest ways to introduce essential oils for your cats. We're going to talk more about that. And then, of course, use caution around your pets that may be pregnant or they're nursing, that are really, really young. If they're really sensitive, if they're on certain medications, if you're using products orally or where they can groom them off, remember your pets will groom themselves, they will lick themselves, especially cats. Make sure those products don't contain xylitol, which is an artificial sweetener that is very toxic and deadly to our pets. And you want to make sure you're watching your cat's behavior for signs of discomfort, excessive salivation, any neurological activity, excessive squinting of the eyes. If you're seeing anything that worries you, make sure you call your veterinarian or take your cat into the vet to get them checked out. Now, your dogs and essential oils, some of these are very similar to cats. So, oils to once again avoid topically and internally with dogs are going to include your birch, your melaleuca, so tea tree, wintergreen, and then using caution with those hot oils. So, oregano, cassia, cinnamon, clove, rosemary, which we'll be talking about tonight, and thyme. So let's touch briefly on some of these methods of application. This presentation is going to focus on diffusing, but there's a lot of different ways we can use essential oil. Now, here's this essential oil dilution guide that I want you to take a picture of. So you have it to reference back to, and you can look at this and go, okay, I know my cats are more sensitive. I want to make sure that we're staying in that lower range. We're using that half percentage, that dilution, or even dropping it even further. So say you want to use 1 drop per 10 mils of a carrier oil. Your carrier oils are what you're diluting it in. You can also go to like 1% if you're using it topically for a dog. So 1 drop per 5 mils. So this is a great reference guide if you're using it outside of diffusion. Now, let's talk about diffusion because this is the safest, easiest, and it can be really effective in helping your pets and also helping yourself for whatever we're looking to use those essential oils for. So there's a couple different ways that you can use diffusion. So essentially we can use passive diffusion. This is where you're putting essential oils on a cotton ball. And I use this a lot for insect repellent properties for pets and for pet parents that want to avoid using topical insecticides. So putting a drop of peppermint on a cotton ball and placing it near like doorways can keep insects out of the house. Also, one of the most common ways, and one of the ways I love using essential oils personally, is a water-based ultrasonic diffuser. So you'll see pictures there where a lot of times I'm using the cold diffuser, so it's not chemically altering those essential oils. And I'll put 1 to 4 drops, depending on what I'm using, in that diffuser. And you'll see like it looks like steam, but it's a mist that's coming out and it's increasing oxygenation in the air. It can be actually treating the air and helping with bacterial infections, viral infections, all of those things. I'm not saying it treats it, so don't hold me to that, just due to FDA stuff. But it can help the environment. And then you're also breathing it in, and your pets are breathing it in. So this is a great way to get started. Now, if you don't have a diffuser, you can also use water misting. So this is in a glass spray bottle. So we use glass because plastic can absorb some of the essential oils. So you can actually put essential oils in those concentrations, 1 to 4 drops in a glass water bottle, shake it up, and you can spray it around a room and get similar benefits. Now, some of the tips to follow when you are diffusing essential oils is you want to make sure you are diffusing them in an open room. What that means, so for example, I'm sitting in my office. If my cats were in here and I was diffusing essential oils, I make sure that the door is open. They can come and go as they please. We're also starting with 15 to 30 minutes. So set a timer because not every diffuser will turn off. And we're also monitoring them. You want to make sure you're with your pets, especially if it's for the first time you're ever using essential oils. So you want to watch them for 15 to 45 minutes. Most pets, if they want to leave and they're not enjoying the essential oils, will walk out of the room. But this is very important. Watch your pets, make sure you keep close eye on them. If you're noticing any signs of distress, which we'll talk about, open the windows. You can take your pet outside, give them some open air. If it's a cat, and you're taking them outside, make sure you put a harness on them so they can't get away. Give them 15 minutes. Most of the time, they're going to come back to normal. And if they're not, that's when you need to call the veterinarian. But start with only 15 to 30 minutes in an open room. You're not closing them in a bathroom and forcing the diffusing process on them. Now, can diffusion cause distress? Yes, of course it can. Sometimes we'll see detox reactions, but they can be very difficult to know, is this a detox reaction where the body actually needed this, or is this a side effect because they're not doing well with that essential oil? So things like lethargy, increased breathing rate, you may notice excessive panting, coughing, they might be squinting their eyes. If you notice neurological activity, so things like seizures, they're not common, especially if you're using high quality essential oils. These are very rare. Those happen when we use adulterated products. I really want to emphasize that. Been using essential oils around cats now for almost 13 years, and my cats have never had an issue. And I use all sorts of essential oils around them, even the ones I listed. So that's something to keep in mind. This is very important that we're using good quality brands and we're also using the right dosages. But if you see this, turn off that diffuser, open the windows, get your pet outside if you can, or take them into another room away from where you were diffusing the essential oils. Give them 15 minutes and monitor them. And if you're concerned, give your vet a call and they can help guide you on what you need to do next. So, what about adverse reactions? Let's touch on this a little bit more. And so, skin irritations, if you're using them topically, are the most common. And a lot of times it's because we're using a hot essential oil. So, something like a cinnamon, or we're using a, a, a photosensitized, like an essential oil that will make them more photosensitized. So they go out in the sun, and say you have a dog that loves sunbathing and you applied a citrus oil topically to them. That can cause an adverse reaction and inflammation. The biggest mistake pet parents make is they try to wash it off with water. We need to use oils or a high fat product to actually remove that essential oil because they're not water soluble. So never try to use another essential oil to counteract a reaction with an essential oil. So I talk a lot about copaiba. And so let's say you put a citrus essential oil on and your pet's now like skin's irritated and they're a bit upset and distressed. Don't use something like lavender or use copaiba, which is an anti-inflammatory essential oil, to try to counteract that. Get some coconut oil, slather it on, wipe it off of them, or olive oil. Grab whatever oil, cooking oil, something that you can put on there and dilute it with a carrier oil. And a lot of times within 15 minutes, your pet will be feeling much better. You need to make sure you discontinue, once again, any respiratory distress, drooling, squinting, rubbing their face. They're vocalizing, shaking, vomiting, diarrhea. If something has changed from when you started and you turn that diffuser on, that is not a normal, healthy behavior for your pet. You need to make sure you turn that off and get some air flowing and get your pet out of that area. Like I mentioned, most will resolve within 15 minutes. If it's just kind of a little bit like they're squinting a little bit, but they seem fine otherwise, most of the time that will resolve within 24 hours. If there's ever any concern, though, call your veterinarian. Now, let's talk about some of the uses for essential oils, because this is where the power comes in, right? And this might be the reason why you're here is, okay, that's great. How do I use these? How can I use them to help my pets? So one of the first essential oils that's commonly forgot about is basil. And we can use basil for its stimulating properties. It's energizing. It has uplifting energy. But the really neat thing about basil is that it actually has antihistamine properties. So who here has an allergic pet, right? An itchy pet, scratching, chewing, licking their paws, red itchy skin. What happens with allergies is it sets off this inflammatory response, and the body produces a lot of histamine, and histamine is what causes that itchy red skin. And we can use basil essential oil to help remove and reduce histamine in the body, so it helps those pets. So you help clear up some of those symptoms. Now, basil, we need to be a little bit careful if you have a pet that's prone to seizures. So if that's the case, do not use this. There are plenty of other essential oils that you can use safely without worrying about, is this going to induce a seizure? So basil is a great one to have on hand. I showed a picture of this because what's really neat about essential oils is it's the concentrated form of these plants and the herbs. And so we can also use those herbs in food, and we can use it alongside food therapy, which I use for a lot of my patients too. Next up is one of my favorites, lavender. I mentioned, though, it's one of the most adulterated essential oils out on the market. So you need to make sure that if you are using lavender, you are using a really good company. And the neat thing about lavender is that it's has a highly synergistic nature. So when we use it alongside other essential oils and blends, it'll actually strengthen the actions of those other oils. So energetically, it tends to be cool and dry. It has anti-inflammatory components. So I'm using this a lot of times for skin disease, using it alongside that basil. So we're getting the antihistamine properties and we're gaining the anti-inflammatory properties from lavender. But also, a lot of times you may be using it for this, but it helps with anxiety. It helps calm. It helps stress. And if you've ever owned an itchy pet, you know that there's that emotional side, that stress that can come and aggravate the itchiness. So lavender is doing multiple things in the body. It's working synergistically to help alleviate that emotional stress, calm the inflammation, and help reduce the inflammation and skin disease too, because it's also helping with, it has antibacterial properties. And so what's really neat about all of these is when we think about lavender, it's not one component. We're gaining all those beneficial properties of the plant that are working synergistically together, which is so much more powerful than relying on one single component in a conventional medication. Now, the next one that I really love using is rosemary. And there's a lot of benefits for animals that we can use rosemary for enhancing mental clarity. So for our senior pets that might be experiencing cognitive dysfunction or cognitive decline, where you're noticing that they're just not listening as well, or they're kind of getting lost a little bit, or their sleep habits are off, we can use rosemary to help enhance that mental clarity. But the neat thing, once again, because these essential oils do multiple things, rosemary is really helpful when we're dealing with viral infections, fungal infections, bacterial skin infections. So once again, combining it with some of these other essential oils, we can utilize the resources and the synergistic properties of these essential oils to really, really help our pets and achieve those optimal results we're looking for. Rosemary alongside basil, you do need to be careful if your pet is prone to seizures. So this would be one I would just leave out. I used it with Finn when he had seizures. It did not induce seizures, but just be careful. Make sure you're working with someone if you're deciding to use some of these that we know you just need to be a little bit careful about. And then we have cedarwood. So this is a really calming one. It grounds and centers pets and people. So especially for cats that you move house, right? And your cat is very stressed out. What's nice about this is it can kind of give that inner calm in times of instability. Kind of sounds like today's times, right? So cedarwood's a great essential oil that can actually help the sleeping habits and help you get back to sleep and go to sleep faster if you have a mind like mine where it's always racing. And it helps increase circulation and oxygenation in the body. And I love using it for those really timid cats. We diffuse it in the house. You have a cat that's over grooming, it helps calm and center them. So this is a great one, especially if you're dealing with any anxiety issues for yourself or for your pets. And then we have the amazing valerian. Now, what's really funny about valerian, some people love the smell and others will say it smells like a dirty sock. So there's my warning to you. It can smell a little bit funky, but it can be very powerful. It's tranquilizing effects for this essential oil. It has a calming effect on the central nervous system. And so it helps with sleep disturbances and it can help with those senior pets and cognitive dysfunction. A lot of times when our pets, especially dogs, as they get into those senior years, what can happen is their sleep cycle gets off. You find the dog is roaming at night, and not sleeping and they're keeping you up, this is a great time to diffuse valerian, and you can use it alongside lavender. Lavender is going to have those synergistic properties. It's going to help calm if there's anxiety. It has anti-inflammatory properties. So integrating this in, especially if there's any sleep disturbances in the house, or you just need something to take the edge off, valerian's a great option. And then we have Roman chamomile. This is best used with other essential oils. I'm using this with a lot of my allergy patients. It's going to help calm inflamed skin. It helps detoxify the blood. It helps that liver work a lot better. And then it's going to help with anxiety issues too. So once again, combining it with valerian, combining it with lavender, we're going to get those synergistic properties. And then one of my favorites, copaiba. This is one of the safest essential oils out there when you're using a good brand and you're using them at the right dosages. It's very anti-inflammatory, and it has a place for almost every condition because inflammation plays a part in most conditions. And it's also going to magnify those other essential oils. So if you have a pet with inflammation, okay, what does that look like? Arthritis, allergies, you have an aging dog, there's going to be some degree of inflammation, cognitive dysfunction. We can combine this with some of the other essential oils that I mentioned and use it quite safely. And then frankincense. This is another one of my favorites. Frankincense and copaiba are two of like my go-tos. So if you do not have these in your like first aid kit, or you're not using them in your household, these two right here would be my go-tos 100% every single day for your pets. And this is a very sacred oil. It's very grounding. It also magnifies the other oils, and it supports the immune system. And so if you have a pet that's going through a health condition or they're at the end of their life, this is a great oil to diffuse in the house to really help center them and ground them. It calms them. It has anti-inflammatory properties. I use it all the time with my cancer patients. And once again, it is really, really safe for your dogs and your cats when you're using the right brand. So I wanted to give you some blends so you can start using these and have an idea on, okay, what are some of the safe amounts we can use? Anxiety is a huge problem right now for pets, for people. Our pets are feeling our anxiety. They're soaking it up. And so lavender, frankincense, Roman chamomile, these are great essential oil options where you can just put 2 drops of each in a water diffuser in an open room. Diffuse that every day for 15 to 30 minutes, and that can help you feel more calm, and it can help your pets feel more calm. I also put a topical recipe on here for your pets based on size. You can follow that guide that with the dilution ratios. So, but typically 1 to 2 drops, your teaspoon carrier oil for your smaller kitties and your smaller dogs, and then you can increase that based on your pet size. But you can apply this topically to them. Lavender, frankincense, and Roman chamomile can be used topically when we're, of course, using the same brand. I'm sure you're getting sick of me saying that, but that is essential for keeping your pets safe. Then we have this clear mind recipe. So you can use this for yourself if you're feeling like you have a little bit of brain fog, but also for your pets too. So this is great for your senior pets where they might be developing some of that cognitive dysfunction. They just need some help. They need some stimulation in their day. I love using the cedarwood, the copaiba for its anti-inflammatory properties, your basil and rosemary for those stimulating, energizing properties. And you can diffuse this 2-3-1-1, super easy, and diffuse that in the or put those in the diffuser for 15 to 30 minutes a day. Let your dog come and go. Let your older cats come and go. If you have a pet that's prone to seizures, then just remove the basil and rosemary, add in some of the others we just talked about. I love replacing it with frankincense. Frankincense is a great one to help support the body, help support gentle aging, has anti-inflammatory properties, can help if your pet has cancer. So that's a great safe one to add in if you're worried about basil and rosemary. And then we have our sleepy time blend. Who else would love to feel like this kitten on their back and just fall asleep and stay asleep, right? And this is where we can use frankincense, lavender, and valerian right before bedtime. So have that diffuser in your bedroom. A lot of our pets are actually sleeping in the beds with us, or they're sleeping next to the bed. If you are doing that, just have that door open so they can come and go, and diffuse it before bed 15 to 30 minutes. Or if you're sitting downstairs, you can put that next to you on the coffee table and diffuse that. And I tell you what, valerian, I am super sensitive to valerian, in meaning that when I apply that to myself, it knocks me out in a good way. Don't get me wrong. But these essential oils can be really, really powerful, and you don't have to necessarily rely on the conventional medications, right? This is a nice way to hopefully introduce something that's going to be more gentle on the body long term. And I know a lot of you are dealing with allergies. It is super common. It's one of the most common things I treat in my practice. And I just wanted to list some of those essential oils that are commonly used for your allergy pets. They're scratching, they're chewing, they have ear infections. So, of course, getting to the root cause, we did a previous webinar on that. I know that's available to rewatch. So make sure you check that out to learn more about the causes of allergies, because we want to make sure we're treating the root cause versus just treating the itchy skin, which is a symptom. But this is where frankincense and lavender, for its anti-inflammatory properties, for its ability to help with skin infections, copaiba for the inflammatory properties, once again, treating that inflammation. Your basil has that antihistamine properties, and Roman chamomile, which, remember, they're doing different things. So it could have some anti-inflammatory properties, but it's also calming down that emotional side, where if your pet's all stressed, they're releasing more cortisol, and it's creating this horrible vicious cycle where they're all stressed out, their body's more inflamed, they're itching more, they're licking more, and it's just continuing, right? It's like a red hot mess. And then you're stressed and everyone's stressed. So that's where diffusing these essential oils can help everyone in the household. And to give you something to use right away, because I know itchy pets are, it's so hard to watch our pets be in pain and be uncomfortable, and you want to be able to help them. There's this easy to make soothing skin spray recipe where you can take witch hazel extract, you can take brewed green tea. So I like using organic if you can. That green tea also has anti-inflammatory properties. It also helps reduce histamine. And then we can add those essential oils that are powerhouses at helping to reduce inflammation, treat those secondary bacterial and fungal and yeast infections. And then we can use things that are helping to naturally reduce inflammation and those and histamine. And so 3 drops each of lavender, basil, Roman chamomile. Super easy to make. And a lot of people have this at home. Put it into a glass spray bottle, give it a good shake before you put it on the skin. If your pet's super fearful of a spraying noise, you can always apply this on a washcloth and apply it topically to the skin, let it dry, and then you can always use some of those other essential oils topically if needed. So I use this all the time for my allergy patients, and it works really, really well at helping them and helping them avoid things like steroids and cytopoint injections and Apoquel, which we know long term can have adverse side effects for our pets. So that was a really fast run through of a few of my favorite essential oils to help with anxiety, to help calm things down, to help with inflammation and allergies, and giving you an overall guidance for how to use diffusion for essential oils safely. And I want you to keep in mind, essential oils are powerful treatment options for dogs and cats. Cats and dogs are not the same. Cats are not little dogs. They metabolize things differently. They are smaller, which means they do need less of things. So keep that in mind when you are using essential oils, and give it a try. Try these different ways to use essential oils, following those principles, following the dilution guide, and then you can definitely refer back to how to use some of those essential oils for these common conditions that a lot of pets and maybe your own or even currently deal with. And I always end with this with my presentations, because the biggest thing is I want you to take away from this is that you can control a lot of your pet's health. And so whether it's using essential oils, by adding in real food, by adding in herbs, nutraceuticals, maybe combining it with acupuncture, there are so many amazing holistic ways that we can help optimize your dog and cat's health to reduce the risk of disease or treat disease and help them live a long and vibrant life. All right, I got through it all. If you need more information, you can go to thenaturalpetdoctor.com. If you're looking for additional help with essential oils, you can always send us an email at info@thenaturalpetdoctor.com. But let's go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we are going to dive back in to,
Perfect.
okay, let me see. Okay, let me
Well,
bring you
while
back up. Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I feel like that was such a great presentation. I loved everything that I got to learn from that, Dr. Katie. And I know that everyone watching did as well. We've been getting lots of comments in. So we wanted to talk a little bit about how you can find good quality essential oils and what you're looking for when you're shopping around. We know that there's so many options out there. I see essential oils at Target. I see them on Amazon. I feel like my neighbor is probably selling essential oils at this point. So how can you find the right ones? So there's a few key components that you can look for when you're shopping that are very basic that you don't need to have a chemistry degree to understand and know what's good quality. And some of them are look for essential oils that are in a dark bottle. This can be a dark amber bottle or a dark blue bottle. This helps protect the essential oil. You want to keep them out of light and sunshine. So dark amber bottle. And then you want to make sure that you're looking at the label. And when you're looking at the label, you should see the Latin name or the scientific name of the plant, the essential oil that you're shopping for. And it should be very easy for you to find right on the front or back. It should say 100% pure natural essential oil. You want to avoid anything that says essence oil or fragrance oil. They'll try and word it in a way like a fragrance essential oil, that as soon as they put fragrance in it, it's no longer a pure essential oil. So stay away from anything like that. You should also be able to easily find the country of origin either from the website or from the label itself, so you know exactly where it's being sourced from. And preferably, you want to find essential oils that are being sourced from that plant's natural habitat. You don't want them farming it somewhere else. It's better if it's where it's naturally from. And then a few other things are they let you see the test results, and that is preferably by a third party, not the company itself testing. And you can go in and look through what's called a GCMS test, and that will break down all the different levels of the components within the essential oil. And it can be overwhelming when you're looking at that test. So if you're ever looking on the Rocky Mountain Oils website and you're look at the our GCMS test, which is available for your specific oil, you can find easily on our site. Feel free to send us an email and we can walk you through any questions that you guys may have. But those are some of the easy ways that you can find high quality essential oils while you're shopping around.
Yes, I love that. And also, you're talking about the the plant is grown in its normal environment, right? And so what we
Mm-hmm.
find is, time is not the same time as something grown in a different climate, environment. And it's going to have different chemical constituents based on the soil quality. Also, a big problem with the way we farm today is that we're spraying everything with glyphosate and chemicals, and that's actually going to affect the quality of the plant too. And then we're potentially putting those toxins into our pet's body or our body also. So there's a lot of things I noticed also with one of my clients yesterday. She love her to death. She's amazing. And she thought she was doing the best thing for her dog. And she bought a organic lavender essential oil off of Amazon. I couldn't find the name of the plant. I couldn't find like the scientific name. It just had like organic everywhere. And she's like, I thought it was good because it was organic and it was missing everything else. And so I just went through that and showed her. And I also explained anyone, even with buying things off Amazon, here's another warning. A lot of the brands that I recommend, you can pop that top off without breaking the seal. And so people, because unfortunately there's these types of people out there that want to make money and will do anything possible, they'll actually dump out the quality essential oil and replace it with something that's an artificial fragrance. And so it kind of smells the same like lavender, and you would have no idea because it doesn't seem like that seal is broken. So I would not recommend buying essential oils off of Amazon. Very easy to do, and commonly happening to a lot of people.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're buying from the actual website, or if they have a certified Amazon store, that would be one way to
Yes,
help
yes.
avoid that. But yes, it is very important to know where your oils are being sourced from, like you mentioned, the pesticides. And something that made me, it reminded me of is over harvesting, and
Mm.
harvesting before the plant is actually fully ready to be harvested can cause issues with the essential oil, and it's not as powerful as it could be. So you want to make sure you're buying with companies that are using sustainable practices and are actually harvesting at the right time. So if you have any questions about how to find essential oils that are going to work for you and your pets, please drop them in. We will answer them right away for you. And before we get into the pet questions, I did just want to mention there was a few people that said our little thumbnails were covering
Okay.
some of the slides. So we will download the slides and I will upload them either to a blog article. I'll be able to comment them in here for you guys so you guys can see all of the amazing things that Katie put together for us today. So without further ado, we're going to take a few questions. And one of the first ones I had was essential oils for arthritis in her 4-year-old dog.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love treating arthritis with essential oils because, most of the time the conventional treatment is your carprofen or, and gabapentin and all these pain medications. And my go-tos for essential oils for arthritis are going to be copaiba, frankincense, myrrh, if we have any like nerve issues, nerve inflammation, nerve pain, and helichrysum. That combination is so powerful. So when Naya uploads that guide, that dilution guide, you can follow that and you'd be able to dilute that appropriately. Start with a smaller amount and test a small amount on your pet before using. I know I'm talking about topically now, but that can be really powerful. So for pets that have like hip dysplasia, you can apply a little bit over the hip and keep in mind it's going to be absorbed into the body and it's going to help the overall body. But once again, your frankincense, copaiba, helichrysum, and myrrh, that combination is really powerful. And you can even just start with 1 drop each and do a dilution, do a 1% dilution, or you can even just diffuse them in your diffuser and start there. And I find my Finn, my German Shepherd, who had quite a few health issues, but you would never know with all the things we were doing for him, he would actually sit next to the diffuser and I'd turn it on and he'd like lift his nose up and start sniffing it. And I was like, oh, he loves it because he could leave if he wanted to. So he was self-selecting to sit there and absorb those essential oils. So those are my main that I absolutely love and work really well. And what's really neat about them is all of them are really safe. Some of them are a little more expensive just because they're very concentrated in the way they're processed and harvested, but they're definitely worth having.
And especially when you're working with pets, you don't need to use that much of your essential oil. A little goes a long way with these. So overall, it can be probably more cost effective than some of the other medications that pets
Yep.
have to take. So my next question is from Caitlin, and she's asking, is the topical route more effective than diffusion?
So if you're just getting started with essential oils and you're like a little nervous and a little weary, start with diffusing. It's a great way to get into essential oils. You're going to feel more comfortable because there's a lot of fear around there. That's why we're doing these talks to help alleviate some of that fear and help educate so you feel empowered to use them. But what I would say is start with diffusing them. And then, but yes, if we're applying them topically, they are going to be stronger. But that's also why if we do them wrong, that can lead to adverse side effects where if there's a skin reactivity, skin reaction, if we overdo the dosage, if we use a photosensitive essential oil like citrus or something that's in a blend and we just didn't realize it, that's where we can sometimes run into those issues. But so I always recommend just starting with diffusing and see how your pets do because breathing it in is very, very powerful. And it can have, I know when I sit here and I have my diffuser right behind me, and I smell it, like I can take a bottle and smell it and it makes a huge difference. It is automatically certain ones are increasing the oxygen of the brain by like 28% frankincense. So they're doing very powerful things for the body. So don't discount how effective diffusing can be.
Awesome. I was just going to say diffusion is my favorite way to use essential oils because it's so quick. You don't have
Yes.
to wait for it to hit the bloodstream or anything. It goes straight there, and especially with your olfactory nerve. So powerful. My next question is from Angie, and she asks, so can you diffuse anything around dogs?
So if you're using the right brands and you're using the right dosages, yes, you can. And I've done that. I've diffused tea tree. I've diffused a lot of those. I've diffused almost every single oil that's listed on that list. And I use them with my patients. And so if you're worried, if you're hesitating, avoid it. But that's where diffusing is, it can be safer in terms you're not putting it on topically. So if you don't do the dilution ratio right and you're putting on tea tree and it's too strong, then you can have a problem. One of the veterinarians that practices essential oils and has like her own line, and she's been a great resource and has shown how essential oils can be safe in amphibians, birds, reptiles. She uses it in the water tank for fish. Like
That's great.
that shows you when you use the right brand and the right dosages that it can be very effective and it's safe. So keep that in mind. You just have to use the right brands, make sure like you're following what Naya was talking about with going through that checklist and making sure that we're not using adulterated essential oils, because that's where we run into problems.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question. My next question is kind of similar, but Caitlin is asking, can you blend any of these oils together, or are there certain blends that you should avoid?
So this is where when you talk to like aromatherapist, there's different oils that are going to blend better together because they work more synergistically together. So I talked a little bit about like your frankincense and your copaiba, your lavender, magnifying the effects and working more synergistically based on the properties and the chemical constituents of that essential oil. So there are going to be things that blend together and also smell better together. Let's be real. The smell will also smell a lot better when we use those essential oils that work better together. Now, you're not going to necessarily cause an issue by mixing those essential oils together, but maybe start with something with like frankincense, mixing it with like your lavender, or using your copaiba with your helichrysum, or some of those other blends that I talked about to just kind of get your feet wet. But you can blend them and try them out and see what works together. But there is definitely a method to how formulas and how blends are made based on what those essential oils, what that plant is made of.
Yeah, definitely. And I would always recommend, looking at the Alliance of Aromatherapists.com, their website for blending techniques, or getting in touch with an aromatherapist that can help you create those blends that you're looking for you and your family, or you and your pet. That's always a great resource. I'm going to take a couple more questions because I know we went a little long today, but one is from Brianna, and she's saying, so even with the oils that should not be applied topically, I think she's talking about wintergreen and birch. You can diffuse those as long as you're following the recommended guidelines.
Yes, and I can see the question. So there's no risk of diffuser mist landing on their fur. So the amount that's landing on their fur is so small, and when we're using the right brand and we're using the right dosage, so you're not dumping an entire essential oil bottle into the diffuser. This is like 1 to 4 drops, right? And it's diffusing that mist. There's not a lot of essential oils, and we don't need a lot. So as long as you're using those safe brands and right dosages, you are fine. You're okay. So if something like if your cat chooses to sit next to it, I I shouldn't say I promise, but the risk of something happening is very slim. Now, if you're worried and your cat is sick or things like that, maybe put the diffuser up higher or away from where they're laying and allow them to choose to come closer to it, because there is an entire self-selection process that pets will do based on what their bodies need. But like I mentioned, I've been diffusing these essential oils around my cats for like 13 years now, and we haven't had a health issue relating to using essential oil with them.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was a great question and a great answer. And the last question I'm going to take is from Brittany, and she asked if you can help her with anxiety for her dog in the car. So, Can
Yes,
what can we do for that? And I want to mention, could you bring your personal diffuser? We have one, a little personal diffuser. Could you
yes.
bring that in the car and leave the windows open? Would that be a safe option for her?
So you definitely can. And there's actually studies that show that lavender helped reduce anxious behavior in dogs. So anxious behavior, she's probably very familiar with what that looks like: panting excessively, pacing, probably vocalizing,
Mhm.
being really stressed. And so you can use lavender essential oil in the car, and studies have actually shown that it helps. And it can help more sometimes than some of those medications like trazodone and other traditional conventional medications you might get from your veterinarian to help calm them down. So 100%. And here's the thing: if you're using a really low dose, or you're just using that passive diffusion technique, if you don't have that person, I was looking for mine sits over here, I can't find it right now, but they're great because you could just spray. You could also spray it on the seat before your pet comes in to the car. You can use that alongside other pheromones. So like DAP is a great one. That's a dog pheromone. So you could get the spray and put that in the car before they get in. Play calming music. Um, there's CDs that you can put on and play for them if you still have a CD player. That's super old school. But there's a lot of different ways you can help, and essential oils can definitely play a part to help them. So, some people actually put a drop of lavender essential oil on a bandana, and they will put that around their dog's neck. And remember, less is more. And so you can try it out at home, see how they respond, and if they're trying to get the bandana off, then take it off and recognize that they don't want that on them. But definitely lavender would be 100% one of my go-tos for using that in the car.
Great. Well, I love that. I love lavender. I hope that helps you, Brittany. Um, I think that's pretty much everything for today. Katie, did you have anything that you wanted to share before we head off?
No, I appreciate everyone coming live. I know, Jenny, I want to answer one final question
Oh,
actually,
oh,
because
maybe I missed it.
it affected my own fin. And so, can diffusing oils cause seizures in a dog who already has seizures because of a brain tumor? This is where you would start very small amounts, one drop in a diffuser, single oil. Don't use those blends. This would be something where I would be diffusing frankincense. And this is what I used for my Finn, who had a brain tumor and had seizures, and he loved it. He sat next to it. That's when he would sniff it, and it didn't induce seizures. You would want to avoid your basil, your rosemary, the ones that potentially can lower that seizure threshold. But oh my gosh, let's use the essential oils that help them and help reduce inflammation and help ground them and calm them, and give them more peace in their body, especially when they are going through something like that. So I wanted to mention to Jenny, I've been there so I can relate, but definitely give frankincense and just start with one drop in a diffuser.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw that question because I didn't even see that one come in. So thank you for that, Katie. Well, I think that concludes everything for our evening. Like I said earlier, we will put the slides that we had up during the presentation in the comments, or I will put it in a blog post and link it in the comments here. And we thank you all for joining us and viewing our webinar from all over the country. It's been an absolute pleasure. And Katie, I hope to have you back on again soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and have a great evening.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.